Hey guys, Yamakiller here with a bit of a different video today. As you can see, we're starting off with the full face cam. Today I'm going to be doing a reaction video. I'm going to be reacting to my first Grand Prix top 8 match that I've ever gotten. I've only ever top 8'd one Grand Prix ever, and I'm going to be reviewing both my quarterfinals and finals match that were both put on camera and seen to the world. There are many other on-camera matches I had, but unfortunately were not on the mainstream and didn't have commentary from the main commentators. We have LSV and Riley Knight commentating my match, and I'm going to be looking at them both from their commentary, some backstory given by myself, and some insight given about what I was thinking, what I was doing within the match that they didn't necessarily do. And, I think this will be a pretty fun activity, going to look back at one of my matches that I have done well in, one of the tournaments that is one of the crown jewels of accomplishments that I've had in Magic. It'd be nice to relive the memories with you guys and give you guys some insights into what and how it happened back in the day. So with that being said, let's get into it. So here we are in the match. This is the first round of top 8. It's the quarterfinals. I'm playing against Jay Trojan, who's on Titan Shift. And to give you guys some backstory about this tournament and where I was, let me give you guys, it goes way, way back, my history with Jay Trojan, back to a tournament called Grand Prix Portland in 2018. I was actually playing Hardened Skills in that tournament. I was 7-2, I believe. Jay Trojan was 7-1-1, and he was playing Bant Spirits at the time. And I played against him. He was playing with a My Little Pony playmat. I remember that. And I remember specifically in Game 3 we were playing, he had a Stony Silence and a Rest in Peace out. But I thought he only had a Stony Silence out. So I Nature's claimed his Stony Silence and tried to go all in on a Ravager. He then pointed to a Rest in Peace that he had off to the side, and I lost to it, and I was pretty upset. I was probably going to lose the game anyway, so it didn't really matter all that much, but that is my initial meeting with Jay Trojan. Now, in this tournament, I also played against Jay Trojan as well. I was 8-0 in the Swiss in day 1, and for the final round at 9-0, I'm playing against Jay Trojan again. I realized he's got the exact same My Little Pony mat that I saw before, and I was, ready to gain my vengeance on him. He's playing Titan Shift, and, I end up losing very, very quickly 0-2 to go 8-1 and lose playing for a 9-0 for the first day of the tournament, and I was pretty disappointed. But, I was 8-1 still. I ended up crawling my way to top 8, started out 12-1, lost to a Dredge player, but then ended up top 8ing anyways, and I can exact my revenge on Jay Trojan. Unfortunately, I'm on the draw here, so I'm going to be on the draw, in this match against Jay Trojan, but I feel like, okay, third time's the charm, I'm going to exact my revenge on this man. And this is the beginning of the match, and we'll get into it.
Jay Trojan and Gal Schlesinger here. Trojan.
I like how he names me wrong. He doesn't say my name correctly.
Good to see Scapeshift getting in.
And Jay's having to read my card, which is a classic from the Hardened Scales deck.
Well, not a quieter weekend, I would say, from Hardened Scales in terms of coverage, but Louise, 2 copies in the top 8. This deck is still very much the real deal.
Oh, yeah, and I think that people tend to forget it because it seems like a meme deck, but it is actually quite powerful and can end the games really quickly.
Oh, yeah.
It is pretty funny that LSV calls it like a meme deck when later LSV actually ends up playing this at a pro tour. And not only that, I have been streaming Hardened Scales for months and months at this point, and really showed and put up good results in challenges, and people have been putting up good results in PTQs and MOX events for months and months, nearly a year up to this point. So it's kind of funny he's calling it a meme deck when you'll see very quickly that it's definitely not a meme deck. I'm about to crush Jay Trojan with some pretty low power draws even from me, I would say.
So, and the +1/+1 counters really add up real fast. And Jay Trojan here playing one of the most linear decks in the format in the form of Scapeshift. This deck has a plan A, which is get 7 lands at a plane.
Yeah, this matchup is definitely very, very much so a race.
21. Or plan B, beat him to death with Primeval Titan. And I don't know, Schlesinger really has to be the one.
From this point in the game, I definitely thought, okay, I'm probably just going to lose game 1 because my draw is very, very slow, and he has what seems to be, making up of a very, very quick draw with Colony Heart Expedition, going for, a turn 4 kill. And on my turn, I'm literally playing a 2/2 for 2, so it's not about, hang your back walker, getting bigger. This is about, killing my opponent as quickly as possible, and I don't have Hardened Scales. So it's definitely going to be an uphill battle from me from this point.
To either go faster than Trojan or mess with what he's up to enough to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the Hardened Scales pilot here, there's not a whole lot you can do to mess with, you know, the Titan Shift deck.
It's crazy. You can see me showing off my quick, you know, flicking skills off to the side.
Matchups with
on the right side.
Gods, which is a great one against Hangerback Walker here.
It's kind of funny. Jay almost forgot his Colony Heart Expedition trigger. And I was literally like about to like, I thought he was going to cast anything. I was like, oh, no trigger for you, no trigger for you. But no, he got it on like right. He was like, oh, okay. Put it on right before we cast it. So he was good to go.
And Flame Slash as well. You tend to be between
I was definitely a no-nonsense player at this time.
Titan Shift list, and often it's Relic of Progenitus or Lightning Bolt, or sometimes even something like Sweltering Suns. But these creature disruption options are really paying dividends right now.
And you know what? The Hardened Scales deck is basically like mono green affinity, and it replaces a lot of the traditional affinity elements with Hardened Scales, keeping the Steel Overseer, Arcbound Ravager part of the deck. You know, and then using, you know, Arcbound Worker and Hangerback Walker and Walking Ballista to really go off in a flurry.
At this point, I think Jay Trojan is supposed to use this Search for Tomorrow, and then play his land, get Colony Heart Expedition going, so he can sacrifice it, and then Flame Slash my Steel Overseer if he wants, or cast Explorer, one or the other. But instead, he makes a play that I think helped me out a lot, because it definitely slowed him down, as well as, you know, gave me extra turns to do things.
+1/+1 counters.
Typically, we see the old affinity list using cranial plating to leverage, you know, combat and combat maths to win games out of nowhere. But here, really, it is just kind of this snowball effect of multiple +1/+1 counters adding up, additional ones being put here, there, and everywhere. Arcbound Ravager making things a nightmare as they accumulate more and more +1/+1 counters. But Trojan in the driver's seat here. Trojan in the driver's seat, playing a natural Scape Shift.
Like, this Explorer without another land in his hand is just, like, so bad, because he's not guaranteeing himself this Colony Heart Expedition. He didn't get an extra land because he's not able to cast the Search for Tomorrow. And, like, he is just trying to hope for the top of his deck, which, even if it's, like, good, you could have just gone for the Search for Tomorrow Explorer into the top of the deck and still be able to cast a Flame Slash. So it just, like, seems really, really not exactly what he's wanting to be doing, and it's something that, you know, I'm very, very, very happy that he is doing, because, you know, gives me extra turns, gives me more time to set up, especially when I've got Steel Overseer. The more turns I get, the better.
Game. Plenty of lands coming into play, and there's the Scape Shift off the top. This one is looking pretty good for Jay Trojan here.
They say it's, like, looking good for Jay, which it kind of is to an extent. I don't have a quick clock. You know, he has a theoretical 2-turn clock on me with being able to Search for Tomorrow, crack the Colony Heart Expedition, and Scape Shift. But, like, the fact that I'm getting a turn with Steel Overseer, I'm going up to 4 mana, being able to possibly cast 2 big spells in a turn, and setting up myself really good for the next turn is going to show you one of the facts that, like, him messing up that Search Tomorrow is really going to cost him here.
Yeah, the Colony Heart Expedition is the best card in the Titan Shift deck when it gets going really early, and that has happened this game.
Can be a bit of a liability when off the top later on. It's one of the cards that threatens to be a dead draw in the later stages of the game when Titan Shift has an active Valakut and is just ripping.
When I was rewatching this, I was looking at my Ancient Stirrings, how I was picking up the cards, and it really looked like, for a second, I was like, did I, like, pick up 6 cards? I was, like, trying to cheat with that. I feel like I was just picking way too many cards, but then I looked closely again, and I definitely wasn't. But it definitely looked like it for a second. I was like, oh, I'm picking up, like, so many cards at once, but, like, I can tell that I'm not, you know, if you look a bit quicker or closer.
That changes things here. There's no Hardened Scales to speak of just yet.
Yeah, Arcbound Ravager, big game with the Steel Overseer.
By Ancient Stirrings, thankfully.
Yeah, that was the one important card that Ancient Stirrings misses on.
Ancient Stirrings is close enough to dig through time.
I was... At this point, you can tell I'm, like touching all of my cards, you know, checking my graveyard, all this stuff. Well, I didn't feel nervous at the time. I was just like, okay, make sure all my ducks in a row, make sure I'm doing everything correctly, make sure I'm not missing anything. I felt very, very confident in my gameplay this weekend, and I felt really, really good with Hardened Scales, especially after I made a bunch of different, like, weird plays that ended up winning me matches where I don't think I should have. And you can see this, like, okay, touching each land, touching each thing, looking at my hand, putting it down, checking everything, looking at my hand again. I'm really making sure that I'm not missing any small thing here. But as you can also see, once I know what I'm doing, I'd go very quickly.
That's Steel Overseer. In comes the Arcbound Work across for 2. Back to Jay Trojan now.
And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if this this Hardened Scales deck could assemble a kill next turn. It's getting very close, especially if it can find a Hardened Scales.
LSV is finally saying that, you know, there's actually a possibility of me finding a win. And this is another huge mistake that I think J Trojan did. Right here, he's not going to sack his Colony Heart Expedition, which he could have to be able to shoot down my Steel Overseer, and possibly even my Arcbound Worker to make it so I have to put everything onto my Arcbound Ravager. And this makes it so my Steel Overseer gets a lot more to do.
No, wait. Colony Heart Expedition doesn't give Trojan the mana he needs for a Scape Shift here.
No, but it does.
But
can sacrifice for
as J Trojan has Scape Shift in his hand, I am going to be dead next turn on the next turn cycle.
J Trojan's not going to want to do that unless Schlesinger goes for a kill of some kind with Ravager here. So J Trojan has the luxury of kind of sitting back, waiting, and may be forced to use that Colony Heart, but probably won't be, and then can easily set up a Scape Shift kill next turn.
Just having.
I'm not sure what they're saying about having to force this Colony Heart and dealing extra damage. J Trojan's going to have 8 lands next turn with the Colony Heart Expedition. That guarantees 32 damage with Valakut plus 6 mountains. Or is it maybe 36 damage, actually? But it's essentially relevant. I'm not sure why he wouldn't just main phase it, you know, try and take out as much as possible right here. And it's hard for them to go off and, like, target things with the Arcbound Ravager out, especially after a Steel Overseer is activated again. So it just doesn't seem quite like the correct play to me.
Having 2 bolts on tap is never a bad thing to be, never a bad position to be against an all-creature deck. We're going to see an activation of Steel Overseer. And in come the Arcbound Ravager and the Arcbound Worker.
And at this point, I'm thinking about exactly, do I want to sacrifice things to Arcbound Ravager? How exactly am I moving things around? Play around this Colony Heart Expedition, being able to shoot 2 Valakut triggers.
It's not like, you know, the Hardened Scales deck has a bunch of Galvanic Blast. It's not playing Affinity. You can't just win out of nowhere. So Trojan can go down to 11 or 8 or 5 or whatever, and then win next turn with Scape Shift getting 8 new lands.
And this is the thing. I mean, Trojan, as we say, sitting pretty. Schlesinger can push through a bunch of damage, but Trojan doesn't have to worry about counter magic, doesn't have to worry about life gain. He can just put this Scape Shift on the stack and more or less win on the spot here.
And that's one of the beauties of playing against the mono green creature deck.
Yep. You just don't have to worry about it. Little kid magic at its finest. And Titan Shift is, again, kind of a secret deck, a favorite deck of mine secretly in Modern, just because it's.
I was thinking about it here for a while if I wanted to sack my Steel Overseer to the Arcbound Ravager, which I'm not sure why I did, because even if they sack the Colony Heart Expedition, shoot 2 at the Arcbound Ravager, I can just sack the Arcbound Worker and still get the same thing done. But I was worried about, like, you know, a Lightning Bolt mixed with these things and making things a bit more complicated for me, at the time at least. But I realized, you know, after looking at my hand and such, this is the play that I need to make.
It's really simple. I'm not a very smart human being.
And you will see quickly why when I, you know, get past combat.
Get it done very easily. Means that, I don't know.
And here we go. Good old Walking Ballista.
Does this change things up?
Oh, it definitely does.
Oh, no.
Walking Ballista essentially doubles the amount of damage that Hardened Scales has access to, and with our Arcbound Ravager with 7...
That sacrifice right there was, you know, things are down. I can sacrifice my Arcbound Worker to my Arcbound Ravager, put 3 counters on my Ballista. If they try and kill it with a Lightning Bolt, I then sacrifice my Arcbound Ravager to itself, put 7 counters here, and still kill them either way. So once they sacrifice that, it's GG, nothing they can do.
Schlesinger can actually just kill Trojan in response here. That was the card he was looking for.
Oh, he's done it.
Oh, yeah. Arcbound Ravager is now going to put 8 more counters on Walking Ballista, 12 counters.
That's my favorite little thing I do right there. You see, I'm pointing out everything. The counter's going to go here. The counters are going to go here. Here's my Walking Ballista, and then the good old point at Walking Ballista, point at you.
Schlesinger can actually just kill Trojan in response here. That was the card he was looking for.
Oh, he's done it.
Oh, yeah. Arcbound Ravager is now going to put 8 more counters on Walking Ballista, 12 counters, fire off, and all of a sudden,
It's like, point at you? Okay, scoop them up, boys. We're done here. A game that looked very difficult for me.
A really nice
no problem.
Yeah. Where, you know, Gal there just sitting there.
And this is Time Walk Magic, so we go directly into game 2. And, you know, let's see if I can have something even better than I had in game 1.
Making their attack, take some damage. The J Trojan like, oh yeah, perfect. Gonna Scape Shift you. Everything's great.
Yeah. He's thinking about dinner. He's thinking about his semi-final matchup. He's having a great time, and then no.
Oh, post-combat Walking Ballista.
Getcha.
Oh, wow.
Getcha dead.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah. Wow. Not how J Trojan drew it up there. Looks like that that plan certainly backfired for him. And we'll see.
So with this hand, I have Hardened Scales on turn 1, which is obviously like incredibly good. And you will see the power of the Hardened Scales deck, especially when it has Hardened Scales on turn 1, and like the absurdity that this deck can, put together.
Now what Schlesing is up to in game number 2 with, hey, look at this, a Hardened Scales on turn 1. That's exactly what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, so for those who aren't acquainted with the deck, Hardened Scales, the deck built around this card specifically, basically says whenever one of your creatures would get a ++1 counter, it gets another one. So when you play an Arcbound Ravager, it comes into play with 2 counters. When you sack an Arcbound Worker, which comes into play with 2 as well, to that Ravager, the Ravager gets 2 off the sacrifice ability, and then 3 more off the modular.
If you didn't quite see over here, I top decked this Inkmoth Nexus, which is exactly what I'm going to need in the coming turns.
You can see how quickly this deck kills by just juggling counters around.
Yeah, and every time they
I think.
Hardened Scales out or heaven forbid 2 or more.
And I have so many. My hand is like incredibly good at this point. You'll see, I'm sandbagging some 0-drop artifacts, and I'll show you exactly the power that can be done in the next turn.
So it can get out of control pretty quickly, especially when you've got, look at this, a perfect start for Gal Schlesinger. He's put a Hangerback Walker into play, and Louise, with the activation of the second ability of Hangerback Walker, putting +1/+1 counters on it, that's 1 tap, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. That's bonkers.
Oh yeah, and then, this isn't the matchup where Hangerback Walker is at its best, but it works really nicely with Arcbound Ravager, because you can then sack it, make 4 or 5 Thopters, and then each Thopter that you sacrifice puts 2 counters on the Ravager, and you can see how quickly it's kind of like shady accounting. You move money from one place to the other, and all of a sudden there's more of it.
Yeah, it's +1/+1.
I do love LSG's joke there about the shading accounting. It really makes me, whenever I would play this deck against people, I go like, okay, Hardened Scales in play, I've got Arcbound Ravager and these modular triggers and stuff. People just go like, what's happening? Where am I? What's going on? It reminds me, early in the tournament, I had a Walking Ballista, Pendlehaven, a Arcbound Worker, and I had an Arcbound Worker that was 1/1, a Ballista that was a 2/2, and a Pendlehaven. And I was able to, use my Ballista to shoot my Arcbound Worker, put the counter onto the Ballista, and with the trigger on the stack of putting the counter there, I was able to pump it with Pendlehaven. It would get 2 counters, so then it would be a 1/1 with +1/+2, so it would be a 2/3. Then 2 counters would make it a 4/5, and that allowed me to defeat a Galvanic Blast for 4 damage that was pointed at my Ballista. Ended up winning me the game. My opponent just like head in hand, just like, what is happening to me? And he was so upset, and I was just so unbelievably happy. It was a purely great moment for me in that match.
Counter laundering here for sure.
There's definitely some counter evasion going on here.
Yeah, we don't want the ICS to get involved in an audit here. But Luis, one thing I think it's really important to note is any deck that is built around a certain card. So Hardened Scales obviously built around the card Hardened Scales. Any deck that can still win games without its marquee card, that is where you really start to sit up and pay attention. Because, okay, this is a completely different example, but for example, in Standard, 1,000 Year Storm. That deck can't win without 1,000 Year Storm, without drawing and playing it, right? We just saw.
I was sandbagging this Dark Citadel plus this Mox Opal as I wanted to get my Inkmoth Nexus down. You'll see very quickly how, it looks like I just have 2 Thops on the battlefield, but very, very quickly my opponent's going to be quite dead here.
A copy of Hardened Scales. That's really important, especially in non-blue decks that don't have that consistency.
Right. This Titan Shift deck does not win a lot of games without either Titan or Scape Shift. So seeing the Hardened Scales deck win with just Ravager, Steel Overseer, Walking Ballista, well, it kind of shows you how resilient the deck actually is.
Yeah, and how flexible it can be in approaching to in its approach to winning games.
And there's the Arcbound Ravager. And now my opponent is super dead here.
Nice one, especially with all of the... Oh,
look, this is just a kill. This is a
dead?
Inkmoth Nexus.
Oh my goodness!
Arcbound
so
Ravager.
much more to say, Luis.
Yeah.
I love it when they're talking about this like 1,000 Year Storm, going like, kill you, and they're like, wait, what's happening? He's just killing them? Like, this is a kill out of nowhere? What is happening? And it's just, it really, I really found it enjoyable just hearing Riley and LSG going like, oh yeah, we're just prancing along talking about, what is happening? All Schlesingers killing him with an Inkbomb Nexus on turn 3? We're done here. What's happened? What just happened?
And I'm sorry for all the Riley fans out there, all 3 of you, that, this match is going to get cut short by a turn 3 kill with Ink.
Yeah, and there we go. We got the handshake, and it was quick, clean game of Magic for me all the way through, and I was able to just capitalize on some of my opponent's missteps. And, the power level of Hardened Scales. And really, winning this match made me go like, you know, we're doing it. And everyone else is still playing in like game ones, and some were in game twos. And I was just like, what am I supposed to do? And right after this, I even got a small interview from one of the British people that works for CFB. I can't quite remember their name. I believe it is. It's a bearded man of some sort. Can't quite remember their name right now, but I got a quick interview from them. It's like, oh, how are you feeling about your top 8 match? It's like, oh, it's pretty clean and easy. I'm feeling great. Hopefully I, continue to crush. It'll be great. And, it was really just a truly great experience to just have this on camera. I had loads of matches that were on, like, backup feature matches, but didn't quite get on, and I was sad to see that I didn't have any until now. I finally got my camera match, and I was very, very happy. Absolutely demolished my opponent, who had me not once, but twice beaten me in previous tournaments and in this tournament, and I was finally able to exact my revenge when it mattered most. So yeah, this is my first match of my quarterfinals, and I was very, very happy to win it, and we are going to go over my finals match in another video, but for right now, this is just the quarterfinals match, and if you guys have any criticisms or anything I could improve on this video, I'd really like to know. I really enjoyed, seeing my match again and, seeing what the commentators say, thinking about what I, was doing at the time, and really enjoyed watching it over again. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it too, and some of the backstory and such. In the next video, I'll be going over my finals match, which is, doesn't look as good for me, but it'll still be some fun, and I hope you guys like this. If you have any criticisms, any things I can improve on, anything you liked about it at all, make sure to give me a comment down below. If you liked the video, make sure to like it, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Twitch and Twitter in the description below as well, and I'll see you guys in the next video next week when I go over my finals match. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.